Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. The first story. Rude old woman asked me to give her an even fork. I told her everything that I think about her. The second story. Company did not provide internet to my house and was fined after my complaint. Today's first story is terrible lady whom I tried to consult due to forks too straight. In J. Hello all, this story all happened when I was 17, and well, this is 1997. I tell this tale to anyone I ever hear say that being a waitress or retail worker is an easy job. Not one single person who's ever worked in the service industry would agree with this statement. They deal with crazy and entitled people all the time, and have to be nice to them in order to make a paycheck. This story certainly proves it, and there are many more from my teenage years I'm looking forward to sharing. CB equals older woman in her 70s. Terrible customer, by the way. No one ever wanted to serve her. Me, B equals boss. W1 equals waitress coworker. W2 equals waitress coworker. So the story goes. I was a hostess at a popular restaurant deli and was still in my junior year of high school. Thin, nervous, and certainly not the woman I am today. I now fight my battles and never let entitled people swindle me anymore. Back during this time in my life, however, I was a pushover. I always backed away from confrontation at all costs, as I was a wallflower. We had a lovely work group at this place. We always help each other out like family. It was a great high school job, and most of the time I made great tips. Two waitresses who were older than me would switch picking me up for work, as they were friends with my sister and one of my bandmates. I'm actually still in this same band to this day. One day, once I was settled by the hostess section, I noted this infamous awful older woman came into our restaurant. Purple hair, bedazzled shirt, cane, and a face permanently smelling crap. No one ever wanted to serve her. I knew this and tried to use my young girl charm to seat the woman quickly, to at least keep the peace. I didn't blame the other waitresses for this, as she was infamously known for leaving a tip in pennies. I kid you not, pennies. Mind you, not even worth $1. Maybe 20 cents if we were lucky. She was also incredibly stuck up and rude all the time, to anyone who disobeyed her requests. One of the waitresses said to me, she'll make her wait for a while, smiling devilishly. I said, I can at least get her started with some coleslaw and some pickles to keep her entertained. W1 from this point on said, good luck, she's evil. They knew I had not yet dealt with her personally, and warned me about her high horse attitude. I really wondered if she was just some lonely older woman, possibly without a husband anymore, and that she might just need some TLC to ease her bad mood. Walking up to her table, I brought the pickles and coleslaw to her and placed them down with a chipper attitude. Here you go, ma'am, some coleslaw and pickles while you wait. She looks up at me and just grimaces. So I see your waitresses are being lazy as usual. You're just a bus girl. Why are you serving me? Stunned for a second, as I'm actually a hostess, and appalled over her reply, I try to ignore CB's comment. I smile and walk away. W1 was in the waitress station towards the back of the restaurant. Psst, come here, saying to me. I walk over and she starts laughing. I told you, she's nasty. So W1 and W2 played rock, paper, scissors to see who would have to serve her. Sadly, W2 lost. She sighed and grabbed a menu to bring the nasty CB. CB was taking her time as usual, letting new customers wait to make their order. The waitress a few times tried to say, I'll give you more time, yet was told to stay, I will pick now. This of course didn't happen much to the W2's frustration. She shoots a look at W1 as she smiled, laughing. We figured CB was doing this as she noticed no one wanted to wait on her. After CB finally picked off the menu, I saw W2 walk away sighing in relief to put her order in. It took her 15 minutes to pick the same meal. She gets every time. I'm not joking, every time. Now to sidestep, my old boss was a spineless sea urchin of a man. He never fought back against squabbles or confrontations in the restaurant, and would often just give the things out for free if the snotty customer we had to serve got loud. I imagine this is why his business suffered so much, and sometimes we didn't get paid on time. Back to the story. The cook in the kitchen knew that he had no leeway in altering or messing up this CB's food. This had been tried before to get back at her, always treating the staff like crap. These times did not end well, as she was a monster and apparently had a good palate. The best thing we had as firepower was to make her wait sometimes. Also, mind you, she would often stay at the table for hours reading a paper well after she had finished her meal, just to aggravate us waitstaff further. Even during rush hour, our B wouldn't do a thing ever. So here comes me, walking towards the hostess station, and I hear, girl, come here. I turn around and it was the nasty CB looking at me. I looked at her and with my best customer service smile said, yes, how can I help you, ma'am? She picks up her fork and states, I really kid you not, My fork is too straight. I need a new one. Baffled at this strange request, I pick a fork out of the silverware bin and try to find one that was more curved than the one she had. I presented this to her and she eats with it for a while, not even saying thank you. 15 minutes or so pass, and I'm cleaning up another table to seat some new guests. She waves her hand at me and snaps her fingers, clearing her throat, obviously upset. The present customers look at me and shake their heads at how rude this woman was being. As the wallflower I was, I ignored my inner rage and walked towards the CB. Yes, how can I help you, ma'am? She snottily answers, this fork is too straight. Get me a new one now. At this point, W1 and W2 are laughing, seeing me getting angry. They did warn me, to be fair. I guess this was the hazing part of the job where you grew a thicker skin. I tried my best to smile, looked through the silverware bin comparing forks, and handed her a new one. This should do. She throws the fork down on the table and says, this is too straight. Look for a new one. At this point, the place was rather packed and busy. I started to get even more angry at this obnoxious lady. I told her she'll have to wait until I seat the new guests. She snapped at me and said that I was a terrible busgirl and should be fired. I really started getting mad. After seating the next line of queued customers, I walked back to her and tried to be civil. Is everything to your liking now, ma'am? Forgetting she wanted a less straight fork, she huffed at me and snapped her fingers for the B to come over. He was always plumply sitting on his register seat. He even ignored her and went back to ringing up the well-fed lunchtime people needing to pay. Now this CB was angry. She looked at me and said, if you cannot do your job, why are you even working here? I asked for a better fork. You obviously are too stupid to hold this job if you cannot do as you're told. I effing lost it. Completely. W1 and W2 know me well, and seeing my face, realize this nasty older woman has just lost the war. I may have been a wallflower, but you cannot call me stupid or insult me in such a way. I will fight back after a while. Both of them start to laugh and take a seat at an empty table away from CB's view to watch the fireworks. I look at this CB and stare her down like she just killed my dog. Turning around, I grab another fork from the bend and bend it completely in half, slamming it straight into her now cold food. She jumps a second and looks incredibly startled. I wasn't finished yet. I put both my hands on the table and let loose. So, you wanted a curved fork? Here you go, you old rat bee. I'm sick and tired of you acting like you own the place. You're rude, obnoxious, and incredibly messed up if you think I'm gonna tolerate your effed up attitude towards the help here. We work our A's off and do not need people like you ruining our days because you're a bitter old maid. Now you eat with this fork. Oh, and save those pennies for our tip and give it to someone who gives an SH. W1 and W2 knew they had to intervene, seeing I had just blown my top in front of 10 customers eating. They had all stopped and were looking at this lady and I. W1 and W2 run over to the CB to try to talk to her. Huffing mad, I walked straight towards my B and explained to him what this terrible CB was doing to me. He tried to calm me down and say she's just old and lonely. She's rude to everyone, and did not take it personally. By this time, the old CB was angrily walking up to B and I, muttering nasty words. The customers around her were staring at her astonished, as most were there long enough to know why I blew up at her. Your bus girl here is a demonic person. I demand you fire her and give me a full refund on my meal. She's a barbarian and should be terminated. She slams her hand on the counter in front of my B. He, for the first time, leans into her and tells her this. Lady, I'm sick and tired of your meddling ways. You're the most rude customer I've ever had, and at this point, I'm telling you to pay and never come back. You are no longer welcome. As far as the fork goes, she was right to have done that. I wished it was me. So, moral of the story, if you're an old crotchety CB and think the world deserves to serve you despite your nasty ways, go F off. This was the day I learned how to stand up for myself. Also, we never saw her again and our waitstaff was overjoyed. I became a hero after that, and the girls gave me a better tip percent as a reward. So in the long run, I'm actually happy this lady pushed me so far. I learned that I can defend myself, and ever since then I do not let entitled people push me around. The second story is sicking the FCC on Hawaiian Telecom. So for about a year I was living in a rainforest on the eastern side of Hawaii, the Big Island. It was 2012. I was working independently as an amateur video game designer, with the help of my loving parents who lived in California. There was just one problem. High-speed internet was hard to come by in the rural farmlands of Hawaii. I managed to make temporary solutions by wrapping my cell phone in plastic and hanging it outside in the rain, wired with a long USB cable to use it tethered to my laptop. The problem was that cellular internet was very expensive, and my bills were reaching $150 each month for cell phone usage, which was not feasible in the long run. I tried ordering from the local company, Hawaiian Telecom, but they tell me they aren't servicing my area. So I looked into what companies were servicing my area. While looking around, I find out a few things. President Obama had signed into law a measure to reward cable companies for servicing rural areas. It turns out phone and cable companies don't care to bring service to rural areas. They have to set up a ton of telephone poles just to reach a few houses, and it's a much better business strategy to just compete with each other in cities, since there are already poles everywhere, and many more houses to steal business from their competitors. Years ago, when telephones and television were becoming a thing, nobody wanted to extend the service to rural areas and farmland. It took the FCC to force companies to extend the service nationwide for the benefit of the whole nation, not just the cities. It's this regulatory philosophy that ensures that our rural areas don't fall too far behind. This is why even the most podunk backwater places in the US are often miles above rural areas in other countries. So you built a giant metropolis in the desert? So what? 20 miles away, your poor people are still sacrificing goats. TLDR, take care of your poor farmers. They're the legs you stand on. Anyway, in 2009, it was decided that the economic benefits of high-speed wired internet needed to be shared with all Americans in the same way that telephones and television were, and that the FCC would be giving paychecks out to cable companies for each house they put in their jurisdiction. Not how many they actually serve, just for every house that had the option to sign up. So I looked up the government broadband plan website that finds out which companies are serving your area, and guess effing what? It was Hawaiian Telecom. My whole section of rainforest, called Hawaiian Acres, was supposedly being serviced by Hawaiian Telecom. So I called them back and they were basically like, we are serving Hawaiian Acres, but your house is too far, and we would only come out there if you wanted to set up a T1 line for $300 a month, instead of the $19 a month. By the way, we had telephone poles. They would just have to add the wires to start servicing our forest. So I started asking around and found out that the only houses being served are the 3 houses in the far lower corner of Hawaiian Acres. The same corner that just happens to be touching the edge of Kiau, a town that did have high-speed wired internet. I started corresponding for a few weeks with the FCC to discuss the evidence I gathered, and the puzzle pieces start to fall into place. Basically, Hawaiian Telecom put in just enough wires to stretch the internet from Kiau to the 3 houses, and then told the FCC that our whole area was now available to service, just that the podunk backwater Hawaiian farmers didn't care about having high-speed internet. Which was BS, because people in Hawaiian Acres had a message board they would access on their cell phones, and we talked about how much we wanted real internet and not cellular. Anyway, the FCC had been giving Hawaiian Telecom thousands of dollars in subsidies and rewards for serving all these rural areas, when in fact, they weren't. And the last I talked to the FCC investigator, they were fining Hawaiian Telecom, putting them under review, and forcing them to pay back their unearned money. I wish I had the exact details, but that's all I gathered about the situation. After this incident, Hawaiian Telecom finally put the wires in for the rest of the farmers to get online. And the last story is, here's 33% of your website. I had a trophy wife client who had a frozen yogurt business paid for by her husband. They contacted me and asked me to design and build a new website for her business. I gave them a quote, and they asked if they could pay in 3 installments. After we all agreed to the terms, I had written approval, and I received my 33% deposit. I got cracking. We had regular check-ins, and they were happy with the progress until one day they just went quiet. They were already behind on the second payment, and I was growing impatient. I was done with the site, and just needed final approval and payment before launching it, but I couldn't get a hold of either of them. I eventually got hold of the lady at her day job after weeks of being ghosted. She calmly told me that they found someone cheaper, and that they won't be paying the remaining 66%, even though the project was complete, and all their feedback was addressed. She told me that I could just give her 33% of the files and move on with my life. I made it clear that websites don't really work if you only upload 33% of the files, sarcastically, at which point she hung up the phone. I still had their FTP details for their brand domain that housed their current old website, so I decided to take revenge. I created a page with an animated fake loading bar that was stuck at 33%. Underneath the loading bar was the message, "This company does not pay their suppliers." They decided to pay only a third of the price, so now they have only a third of a website. I went so far as to download the website files, split it up in roughly 3 portions, file size, and upload a zip folder containing a third of the files to the FTP folder. This way I actually gave them the 33% they paid for, and I could show the file size to prove it. I also permanently deleted the old site's files from the folder, so they couldn't restore from a backup. Not that they'd have a clue how to do that. They threatened to sue me. I'm still waiting. I hope you love these stories. Be sure to subscribe if you want to know when the new video comes out.